Hello. I see a comment. I suggest video series. They say yes. I make series. Please note this does not apply to every suggestion, only the ones I feel like doing. So while building my project, I looked to YouTube for any tutorial series on route building, and I noticed a common trend. None of them seem to try and replicate a real-life railway. This series is going to be dedicated to those wishing to do so. Having said that, most tutorials out there do go through the different tools individually, and are actually very useful in teaching the basics. I will link what I feel are the best ones for context in each episode in their respective descriptions. Make sure you are well versed in these, as I will assume you'll have some basic knowledge of the tools used throughout this series. So you've decided you want to dedicate some time to replicate a real-life route in Train Simulator. Albeit local or elsewhere, I will try my best to show how one does this. But before we hit the editor, there are some things we're going to need and a couple of things we need to consider. The first thing to consider is size. How large is the route going to be? Is it going to be part of a main line? A whole branch line? A whole main line? When determining size, you need to consider whether the game will be able to handle such a size of a route. My extensions are split up into 4 different routes, because if I merge even the 2 smallest routes, my game crashes upon loading. Of course, there is save time as well to consider. On the ATS ECML merge, it can take roughly 3 hours to save a single change. Even if you had a really powerful computer, you still need to dedicate the time and effort into a route this size. So basically, the size of the route is pretty important. The other thing to consider is whether you are going to monetize this venture. If you aren't, and are planning for this to be freeware, you have more liberties as to which pre-made assets you could use. If you are planning to monetize this, I recommend you go to the Dovetail Games website and check out their lessons on creation of these assets, track rules, etc. Okay, so now you've decided on what you are doing, we're going to need some tools. The first and most obvious one is the Google Maps overlay. This tool in Train Simulator allows you to use an overlay from Google Maps on your route, so you can accurately place down not only tracks, but trees, other vegetation, roads, water, and buildings, just to name a few. There are many tutorials on how to do this, but the best one I could find was Train Sim TV's one, which only takes about 10 minutes. The Google menu is a bit of a maze to get around, but if you follow this tutorial, you should be fine. Although I often see comments about not getting it, even when they followed the video point for point. Having watched it through, they did miss one point which I think is crucial. When you open the project and are given your API key to copy over to the simulator, you will need to go to Billing and Apply. This is generally what stops most people. However, Train Simulator uses so little of it that you will never be billed a single penny. One of the first things one should do when creating a route is change the terrain. If you are creating a real-life route, you probably shouldn't spend weeks changing the terrain little by little. Luckily, Train Simulator does have a tool such that you could change 361 square kilometers of terrain to match real life in a single click. This is the way to do it. Go to your RailX folder, then create a folder and call it DEM. Now go inside that folder and create another one, and call it SRTM. This is the folder where you are going to input the data. To get the data, I recommend this website. Click on the square region you're using, unzip the folder, and then drag the .hgt files into the SRTM folder. Now you can import terrain accurate to real life. Next up, you're going to need some references. The first one is what will likely become your best friend, the driver's eye view. Most routes have a driver's eye view of some sort on YouTube, however if you cannot find one that's free, you're going to have to look elsewhere. In the UK, 225 Studios has driver's eye views of most routes in both directions, so this would be the go-to. Secondly, you're going to need references for the track properties, the most important one of which, in my opinion, is the gradient profile of the route. Other countries may have their own websites, but for the UK, the Railway Data Centre has most routes with pretty accurate data, although it can falter at times, so keep a lookout for that. To add to that, you could cross-check the gradient profiles on the website with other resources, such as books, which actually go through extra scrutiny, so they're more likely to be accurate. The final two for the time being are a little less important, as they can generally be found through the driver's eye view, but they are speed limit changes and signalling names. Of course, this is all depending on the level of detail you're going for, but personally it's nice to have these on standby anyway. For speed limits, if your driver's eye views do not give an answer, this website is good to fall back on. For signalling, again, I don't really know about such websites elsewhere, but for the UK, Open Train Times has a layer that allows you to know which signal is which and in what area. Now we have essentially everything we need at this point. I do want to make it perfectly clear though that you can have as many resources as you want to cross-check, ranging from primary resources to photos and videos, written documents, plans, everything. Now we have what we need, let's get the route set up. We are now in the game, and for this mini-series I'm going to do a railway that is close to my heart, and that is the East Somerset Railway. It is about 2 miles long, so it is perfect for this. We're going to call it the route that we're going to be making. So in this instance, I'm going to put East Somerset Railway tutorial. And then we're going to get our starting track rule, which actually is also going to determine the starting ground texture and sky. So in this case, the best grass I know of right now is from, if I can find it, Kept High Speed. And as you can see, it starts with the latitude and longitude. We're going to change this to the coordinates of your route origin, which could be any starting point of your choosing. I'm going to get the coordinates and put them in to the latitude and longitude. Once you've done that and you're happy with the coordinates that you've put in and the name and the ground texture and track rule, we're ready to begin. So you'll see nothing's happened. That means we actually have to find the route we've just created. We found it, and we're going to go into edit. Now, because it's the first time we're loading into our route, it should be fairly quick. And we're in. Okay, so we are into our route. It doesn't really look like much for now, but we're going to make this about as real as one can get in this simulator. So you'll notice that there's nothing around. It's just completely barren, and if we look at the height, you can see it tends to fluctuate, but it's basically at zero, sea level. But because we got our coordinates here, we can see that when we activate our Google Maps overlay, Control G, sure enough, that's Cranmore Station, which is where I wanted to start. So what we're going to do is we're going to import the terrain, and then we're going to mark out where the stations are, and then we'll go from there in the next episode. So to import the DEM data that we got from the website, we're going to go here, click this button, import. We got the source folder, we got SRTM, and we're going to go about as far as we can get because we're not interfering with anything else. We're going to do 19 by 19, which is 361 square kilometers. Well, it's a bit more than that actually, because the boxes are, I think, 1062 meters by 1062 meters. And then we're going to click Import Terrain DEM. The larger the area, the longer it can take. But sure enough, this is the terrain of the surrounding area, including the hills in the distance. It's about as accurate as you could get in the simulator. And this is why getting the DEM data in was so important. Now, this is just something I like to do so I know how much progress I'm going to be making, and it's to mark out where each station is along the route. So going in, We can use Kent High Speed Track Classic if we wanted to. I'm going to probably be using something different, which I will introduce in the next episode. But for the time being, we're just going to get into our Kent High Speed. I don't know why that's... Yeah, that was weird. Going to activate Google Maps. And it doesn't... When you're marking out where the stations are, you don't have to be exact at all. But it's nice to know just generally what direction you're going into. And then we're going to just do something like that. And then we're going to go here, go down to marker, assuming it will let me drag. It won't let me drag. Okay. Marker platform. Then we're just going to drag it over here, then over here. And then just, you don't even need the platform number yet, you just need to call it the station. And if you go on the map, it's now shown up. I'm going to do this for the other stations, and I'll get back to you. This is Mendip Vale. Now, as you can see, we're going to go into the map. You can see our 3 stations along this route, and it's a fairly small route, so we don't really need to zoom out that far. But we can start to see what our route is going to look like in essence. But that's all I'm going to do for now. Hope you enjoyed that. If you found it informative, please do let me know. If there's anything I can improve on, I'd like to know early, so please do let me know. If I've missed anything, again, let me know. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.